Welcome to the February 1st Clark County Fire District 6 Board of Commissioners meeting. This time I'd like to call the regular meeting to order and ask that you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This time we'd ask for any late additions to the agenda.
None here.
No? Okay. We'll need to read and approve the minutes of the January 20th regular meeting.
So move.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Correspondence. I didn't see any correspondence in the packet. Citizen communication. Citizens this evening watching our live YouTube stream, you have the ability to communicate directly with the board. There is a chat feature that you can plug in any questions that you would like asked, and we'll monitor that throughout this evening's meeting. Committee reports. Health and safety report.
No reports today.
No report. Risk management group. No report.
No report, Mr. Chair.
And fairgrounds. No report. Okay. Consent agenda.
It's kind of nice when we give more than we receive from Vancouver.
Yeah, I see that there. This month there's an uptick in the.
Move for approval?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Right.
Aye. Chief's reports. Personnel action report.
So the personal action report today is lengthy, but we have Captain Jordan Scott, who completed his trial service period on January 15th. And then we have our 11 new recruits who have all completed probation as of today.
Great.
So Clayton Morris, Michael Garrison, Anthony Culver, Sarah Merrick, Brandon Bohart, Russell Franklin Lyons, Gary Stallings Jr., Cole Edgley, Travis Mayer, Eli Cass, and Patrick McGreevy.
Great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah, anybody here this evening? Sarah, right there. Look at that. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. All right. Facilities update report.
And I'm going to turn that over to Chief Newberry.
Chief Menard. So, again, this is our facilities report for projects that we have going on in the district. Occasionally bring these to you for question and answer. Our meetings with the architect are starting to ramp up a little bit. We're having them at least once a week, usually on Thursdays, although this week we had Tuesday and we'll have Thursday again. But over the last several weeks, we've met 4 times now to discuss landscaping, mechanical and plumbing, and security, and our locution alerting system. We met then today to meet to discuss electrical, and next week we have a finishes discussion. So, and originally in our original cost estimations, we did not include replacing the lights in the truck bay here at 61 because they're only 5 years old. Unfortunately, the warranty has expired, and I don't know, the 8 or 9 months previous to the warranty expiration, we had a few fixtures go out, but they were covered under the warranty, so we thought it was just okay. And the last batch we sent in for them to replace did not, they did not give us warranty on those. So we are now considering that we're probably going to have to replace light fixtures in the truck bay, otherwise we'll likely have more failures. Apparently the technology that was installed was not quite as advanced as it is now, and so the diodes get hot and they burn out. So we're going to have to revisit that on the cost estimations. We also have discussed Station 63's storage building, which we'll discuss here in a second. As far as the landscaping is concerned, basically we have an objective of how to employ environmentally friendly landscaping with low maintenance and keeping native, species here. So that's in the plan. There were some challenges that we're going to have with, as we talked about before, on the trees on the north side of the property and the trees on the and the shrubs on the south side of the property, and how to address those issues. It's likely that those trees are gonna need to come out, and then we're still addressing the shrubs on the south side. As you know, those trees have started to attack the irrigation lines that are in those flower beds, and have caused us some pretty significant maintenance headaches last year. So we're keeping our eye on that, but it's likely that it would be best that we probably replace, or take that out and replace it with some of the landscaping I've already discussed. But that was already in the cost estimations. Mechanical, we're attempting to salvage a bunch of our mechanical equipment that we've put in new in the last couple of years. But as you know, the energy code has changed, and there's a DOAS, the dedicated outdoor air system, that's a pretty costly piece of equipment that will have to be installed here. And that, although has been also included in the budget for this project, so it's just gonna be expensive. Plumbing, there's not a lot to report on plumbing. We're addressing some of the shortcomings that we have at the other buildings to make sure we don't replicate those. Talked a lot about security, locating the security cameras throughout the project and using the same systems that we have at 62 and 63. Also the card access system that we have at 62 and 63, we're gonna do the same thing here. And so we spent quite a bit of time going through the floor plan and deciding where those cameras and security elements will be located. Locution's been proven to be a great system at 63 and 62. We plan to replicate it here. And so we talked about some of the features we wanted to make sure we had in the system here. So that's, in a nutshell, 61. Electrical today, we went through room by room to make sure that we had adequate outlets. I don't know how much history you guys have on change orders from 63, but the original design did not have nearly enough, especially Ethernet access from each of the offices, and nor enough power outlets in some of the spaces like the turnout room and the truck bay and things like that. So we went through it room by room to make sure we had adequate infrastructure and all those spaces. Station 62, those light issues, we're still combating the supply chain issues on the main lights, and then we have a partial commitment to warranty some other problems we're having out there with some of the reading lights that are failing. Station 63, the training storage building, several weeks ago, or probably a month ago, we came to the board and let you know that the progress that we were having with the storage building, and that McKinsey was working on time and materials proposal for their work. There's a certain amount of work that they have to do that we can't do. And that proposal came back to the fire chief for her look at. And in a nutshell, it's on a low side about $38,000, on the high side $64,000, but that really depends on how many headaches they have at the county. It's time and materials, so it's not like they're gonna make a ton of money on milking this. This is they put in their time, they document their hours, and we pay the bill accordingly on time and materials. There's a lot of things that go into that project, even though it seems like a very straightforward building. But there's a land use permit that has to be pursued, that they have to lead us through. There's some landscaping that has to be worked. There's some civil earthwork that has to be taken care of, grades and stormwater and things like that. Those are all things that they're gonna have to deal with. That's not something that I don't have a stamp to engineer or to put on the plans. They have to do that. Also, if there's a transportation impacts out there, they'll have to address that. And then, of course, the structure of the building. Not that the structure's already built, they have to make sure that the pad that we pour meets the structural requirements of the building. So overall, if the board so chose to approve that time and materials contract, McKinsey would manage those processes I described and submit to the county for permitting. Once the county has it, there would be limited input from McKinsey, and that's where we would take over managing the permitting process, so we don't have to incur those costs. And the stormwater relationship is fairly straightforward, so we would manage that. The bid process is fairly straightforward, and we would manage that with assistance of legal counsel. And then, of course, construction and contract management with the general, that's something that we would manage. So that is it in a nutshell.
Any questions?
On that outbuilding or shop, we're on budget, it's not a problem.
So we have there's three components basically to the shop or to that storage building. One is the building itself, which we've already authorized, and that's fine. The second part is an unknown because we have to get the plans, the engineering done on the pad, all those things, and then send it out to bid. We have some wild, we have some estimates, and we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
So that's still on track. And then the time and materials contract is outside of those expenses. So that would take, the two things remaining for the board to take action on would be to approve the bid once it gets back and the approval of the engineering that has to be done for McKenzie. So once we have that, we'll know what the budget really looks like. But we just don't have all the information
All right,
yet.
thank you.
Yeah.
Does the construction of this facility require new concrete? When you talked about the concrete needing to be tested or the
So,
concrete needs to
yes.
be torn out that we.
So, I'm not sure if you were here when we did the training tower.
Yeah.
But basically, the training tower came as a kit.
Mm-hmm.
And so from slab up, the architect wasn't involved, that was me and the contractor. But from the slab down, there's engineering that has to go in, how much concrete, if there has to be any reinforcement, how deep the footings are compared to the slab. Anchor bolt locations, compaction of the dirt underneath the slab. Is it adequate? Because that was built on a wetlands. We've come in and remediated that soil for a parking lot, but to put a building on it, they have to be tested again as well. So, and I'd hope that it was much simpler.
Yeah.
But as I'm going through this, it never seems simple.
Right.
It's fairly complex, and with our county as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the update.
So, I don't know if under new business, the chief is going to present that proposal, or if we would like to actually visit with the county before we ask the board to approve anything. We want to make sure that there's not some other things that we can do ourselves, and make sure that there were some code changes in the last year. So we did some of this work 2-3 years ago when we started construction at Station 63. We're hoping that we might be able to talk with the county and ask them to accept those previous reports as our step forward, rather than having to redo some things. But it's going to depend on how much the code changed.
Okay.
So.
And there's not a proposal for you tonight. I want to wait till we get that meeting with the county.
Sounds good.
It just seems not a good use of public funds to make us redo the studies we did just 3 years ago.
Right. Great. Thank you. COVID-19 update.
So COVID's trending upward. We have 2,549 cases out of the 100,000 in Clark County. The district's been hit pretty hard with COVID as well, but we've been fortunate that as one person goes off, another person comes back. So we've been able to maintain staffing without much issue. Captain Simica is also doing internal testing. So he's tested 86 employees, 12 of those were positive, so we're tracking at about 14% positive test. And I'll let Chief Russell speak about what they're doing a little different with the testing coming up.
Yeah, so we were given, public health provided us with a antigen testing machine, so we've had that, for employees. We're gonna open it up to family members, immediate family members in the household, so if folks are, they have someone in their house that they think may have COVID and, they need to come to work, but they're not quite sure yet if they've been, exposed or not, and if they would need to take accommodations at the station based on that. So we'll open it up to immediate family members in the home. And then we're also about to take possession of just a whole bunch of at-home test kits as well, so we'll be able to send folks home with some that, you know, if they live in the outer reaches or anything like that, and it's not super convenient to come into 63 to get a test, you know, we'll send them home with them as well. So things are looking good on the testing front.
And if you're interested, influenza is tracking at 3.9%.
Thank you. Great.
Yes.
All right. Any questions, gentlemen? No questions. Moving on. Old business, policy 1052.
So this is the second review of this policy before the board. This was negotiated in CBA negotiations, and it just needs board approval unless there's any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. New business. 2022 EMS Levy work group schedule.
So we put together a schedule for the EMS Levy work group. That's in your Dropbox. February is the kickoff to those meetings.
Okay.
The group will consist of myself, Commissioner Pfeiffer, Dave Schmidtke, Tony Losbeck, and hopefully one person from the community.
Okay.
So just good dates and times for you, Commissioner Pfeiffer, and we'll schedule it on that.
Okay.
Who you have some people asking?
Well, we've always used
Community-wise?
Isla Stanek, but
Oh, to write the pro for the
yeah,
committee?
but then I don't have anybody from the community yet, so. So if you have suggestions, that'd be great.
Okay. All right, I'll get you dates and times.
Okay.
Consent agenda.
So in the past, we've always done the consent agenda where it outlines types of calls based on NIFRS coding. The problem we're having with it now is we can only get that information from our ESO program, which is our report software writing program. And the actual data from CRESA comes from First Watch, who doesn't break it down into those call types. So I gave you an example of what I was looking for to move forward with on the consent agenda. It just takes our total responses, total incidents, breaks them down in fire and EMS. And then in your packet, you'll see that it charts our response time compliance and then our 90th percentile response time compliance. So it's actually more data, but it's just not broken down the same way, and I wanted to see if the board was okay with that change.
What number's that, Darren?
So they're, 2A, B, and C.
Okay, perfect.
So you have in there, 2A is all of our responses, and then you'll see our average response times, our average scene time, and average turnout time. When we're not in the 90th percentile, these look at all priority calls. We're tracking really well with our turnout time and response time in that area. But when you go to 2B, 2B looks at how we perform in the 90th percentile only on priority 1s and 2s. And that red line indicates where our threshold is, and everything above that is outside of compliance. Chief Russell and I are going to dig more into that data because we're assuming there's some outliers in there that are throwing that data a little bit.
I hope
And
so.
yes, me too.
That's not good.
Yeah, some of it we can explain, like the EMS putting on their suits and stuff takes longer than it did before, but we need to get those back down to the thresholds. So we're hoping it's a data issue. And then the last one, 2C, that just shows you the mutual aid incidences, responses given and received.
Okay. Do any of the reports give a year-to-year comparison from like January to January?
We can do that, yeah.
Just so we're able to trend
Yep.
where we are in relation to previous years.
Yep.
If it's not too much work, if it's just one more
No, it's just,
piece of part
it's
of
just
it.
entering dates, it's very simple.
Perfect.
I'm fine receiving the data like that.
Yeah.
And we can inquire if First Watch can break it down by those NIFRS codes.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with
Yeah.
just seeing the bigger numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Let's see, is that it for consent agenda? Yeah. AMR update.
So, I was asked by Commissioner Haynes to give an update on AMR Level 0. The way the contract works is the City of Vancouver holds the contract. We essentially contract with City of Vancouver. So they execute the contract and hold AMR to the levels within that contract. We get a monthly report of how their response time compliance is. So if you look in the AMR folder, the response time compliance is they need to meet 90%. And so they are meeting their response time compliance. And if they don't, then there's fines associated with that. And how it works is the whole entity that's in EMS District 2 splits those fines evenly, or how many calls they missed. District 6 falls almost all in high density. So our AMR response time to our calls is 9 minutes and 59 seconds. And so that's the response time compliance that they're meeting. The interesting part though is if you look at their level 0 reporting, and I'm sorry, these charts there's a lot of information, so they get little, but when you look at their level 0 reporting, they report out daily every time they go to level 0. So like if you looked at December 2nd, you would see that 12 times they went to level 0 for a total of 42 minutes and 51 seconds. So every time AMR goes to level 0, we get an indicator on First Watch and usually a notification that they're at level 0. But there is a threshold of they can be at level 0 so long before it trips finding and issues. So why I tell you that is because the crews will feel, and rightly so, that they're at level 0 often.
Yeah.
But the finding mechanism for them at level 0, they don't meet that threshold of the time commitment. Does that make sense?
Yeah. They're level 0, but they're not level 0 long enough.
Right. So as soon as they go level 0, we're notified. They pretty much put a crew back in service rapidly. But if you look at like just that first day, time at level 0 is average about 4 minutes is the average, right? And so what happens is, and why we feel that it's a longer period, is once that 4 minutes starts, now they're backed up that much on every other call that's in the queue. And so that 4 minutes to us may feel like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But.
Is it, and I don't know if we've been talking with AMR, like, are they feeling, is it a staffing issue? Is it hospital turnaround times? Both?
Well, so EMS District 2 is made up of one representative of the county chiefs, and that's Chief North, and then Chief Blue from the city. And then their city attorney runs the agreement. What they've said now is that they are having trouble staffing with COVID. They're having a hard time getting paramedics out of school, getting them on the ambulances, and they also associated it with fire departments doing lateral hiring across the county. So, so they do have a staffing issue. They're a for-profit agency, so they, you know how that runs. They run it at their minimum to try to just keep out of the black, and so. If we were to staff that kind of operation, we would staff it differently than a for-profit agency. But so I don't really have a good answer for you.
No, I appreciate you bringing it up. I know it's obviously on the forefront because he and I are dealing with this very issue, and I just want to make sure that it's on our radar about make sure it's not affecting our citizens, that we're having delayed response times from our ambulance and transport times. Mm-hmm. Our crews being on scene longer and how that impacts back-to-back calls and so forth. So I just want to make sure that we're having those discussions, and I don't know what circles we need to run into to raise this issue if it becomes more of an issue, but I just want us to have a discussion about it here.
Yeah, we continually have those discussions. We don't have much control over the contract, which is difficult, but yes, it does affect our citizens. So yes, they can be delayed on scene and have a delayed transport. And some days it's worse than others. So.
Right.
But it is a constant discussion. The agreement actually ended in 2019. They could opt for a 5-year extension, and so Vancouver did opt for that 5-year extension, so that puts it into 2024.
Okay.
We used to stop the clock for them. Do we do that?
We do. So when yes, we do. Yeah.
We get
on certain calls.
We get reimbursement for that.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that.
I thought we used to, I can't remember.
Thanks for cranking out this data in pretty short order.
Yeah.
I think I just emailed you a couple hours ago. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Executive session, I didn't see a need for executive session this evening. Roundtable, good of the order.
And I don't know if we're gonna be asked to participate with the law enforcement memorial at all, but hopefully if they need some help, they'll reach out, and whatever we can do. I know they're in the process of planning it, and your brother's even closer to it than the rest of us, but they're, beyond the badge is working hard on it. I don't know what they've come up with yet, but unfortunate situation, really bad.
The district did reach out to both Clark County Sheriffs and Clark County Fire and Rescue and offered peer support and any assistance we could give. Early Saturday morning, I contacted Chief Blue and let him reach out to BPD since that's in his jurisdiction. We have offered help for whatever they need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think all I got is, heavy heart for the whole situation. It's just absolute tragedy, and whatever we can do to help, so appreciate you already handling that.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. With that,
I have one good of the order.
oh,
as well.
perfect.
Okay.
I'm actually going to be in Texas this week for.
On purpose?
Yeah. I'm working on a book with John Brunacini and some other chiefs, and so it's the launch of the book. So I'll be out of town from Friday to Wednesday, and I think Chief Russell's out of town, so I'll just be Chief Newberry and Chief Schmidt.
All right.
Do we get autograph
Yeah,
copies?
are you
Sure.
signing these
Yeah,
books
what-
too, or
yeah.
what do you?
Do we get like a little sneak peek, like, what's the title of it?
The program is called Managing the Fire Company, and so it's essentially built kind of the same as Blue Card, where you have these training sessions and it teaches officers the softer skills of being an officer. So like discipline, work around the station, being out in the community, that stuff. So it's a
Cool.
pretty interesting book, and it's with chiefs from all over the country. So we're all going to meet in Texas and finish it up.
Yeah, is it a nice part of Texas?
Metro.
Dallas,
Dallas,
Dallas, yeah.
So,
Metro.
All righty, nice work.
how was the battalion chief little shindig you guys
It was
had?
really good.
Yeah?
Yeah, we had a nice trip down to Phoenix, 2 days of Blue Card training on May Day stuff, and the battalion chiefs are delivering that to their crews now.
Nice.
But yeah, good information. They always just have top-notch instructors there, and a really nice facility, obviously, too. And then, yeah, really nice time for the 4 of us to kind of team build a little
Yeah,
bit,
good
just
to
get
hear.
to know each other a little better, so it's fun.
Cool. All righty, well, with that, we'll need to authorize payment of current bills, pre-authorization, transmittal, authorize monthly commissioner compensation.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned.
Where did you get that from?